morning. Let's take a few moments and walk down the history of the Femineer program. Created by Cal Poly Pomona's College of Engineering in 2013 and funded by a Kellogg grant, the Cal Poly Pomona College of Engineering Femineer program is a unique and innovative 3-year program devoted to inspiring K-12 students to pursue STEM majors and careers by providing opportunities to engage in project-based learning. Interactions with female engineering student mentors, and Cal Poly Pomona's on-campus engineering outreach events. Due to its rapid growth, in fall of 2016, San Diego State University College of Engineering became an affiliate university partner. In October of 2015, the Femineer program was recognized by the White House as one of only 150 programs nationwide for its commitment to action as part of the 25th anniversary of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. The Femineer program was named a recipient of Insight into Diversity magazine's 2019 Inspiring Programs in the STEM Award. This award was presented as a tribute to programs that encouraged and inspired a new generation of young people to consider careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. And now, welcome to the 2021 Virtual Femineer Summit. Thank you to our guests, students, teachers, parents, and our industry partners and sponsors, including Motorola Solution Foundation, CryoWorks, DRC Engineering, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Southern California Gas Company, Southern California Edison International, Boeing, Burnbraid Technologies, REC Foundation, Qualcomm, SDG&E, Otter Products, Barnes & Noble, Judy D'Amico, and Ellen Ochoa for attending and showing your support.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first virtual Femineer Summit of 2021. My name is Dr. Christina Rigdon, and I am the Director of Outreach Programs and the Women in Engineering and Science program at Cal Poly Pomona. I will be the MC for this event. My colleague is Nicole Gutsky, the Outreach Programs Liaison and Program Coordinator for the Women in Science and Engineering program at Cal Poly Pomona. Representing the College of Engineering at San Diego State, we have Michelle Jordan Bunn, who is the Director of SDSU Women in Engineering and the Femineer program, and Bianca Avina is the Assistant Director of SDSU Women in Engineering and the Femineer program. Wow, I can't believe that today we have over 500 guests joining us for this virtual Femineer Summit. Please welcome to the virtual stage Dr. Allison Baskey, Interim Dean for the College of Engineering and Dean of the College of Science at Cal Poly Pomona. Welcome, Dean Baskey.
Thank you so much, Christina, and good morning and welcome to the Femineer Virtual Summit. As you just heard, the Femineer program was launched in 2013, and it is an innovative 3-year program devoted to inspiring K-12 female students to pursue STEM careers. It is in over 120 schools in 6 states with more than 1,700 students. We do have the one affiliate university, San Diego State University, and an industry mentorship program. And looking forward, in summer 2021, we will have our first Femineer virtual summer camp. And I hope some of you out there will be registered for it. So I get a few minutes this morning to talk to all of you. And I thought I would just talk a little bit about my own pathway as a woman in STEM. So I was thinking about that and realized it was in junior high that I think I wanted to become a scientist. And so it was 8th grade. Maybe some of you out there have taken something called physical science in middle or high school. That's when I did this experiment that I still remember. I was so excited. It was on distillation. We had this mystery liquid and we had to figure out what was in it. And our teacher told us, you just heat it up, measure the temperature, and it keeps going up, but then it'll stop and be the same for a while. And that's when you're boiling off one of the unknowns in your mystery liquid and then go up. Then we would look up that temperature for the boiling point. And that's when it just dawned on me how logical and interesting science could be. We also had to memorize a lot of the periodic table and that I'd never seen before. And so I'm going to give you a little homework out there. 14 of the elements in the periodic table are named after people. 2 of those 14 are named after women. I bet if you're thinking, what woman could an element be named after? Probably most of you have heard of Marie Curie, right? So that's the element curium, number 96. There's another one though, it's element 109. And I'm not going to tell you who the person is. I want you to go Google that and figure it out yourself. But she was also an amazing woman who co-discovered nuclear fission. And that's why she got an element named after her. Then I hit high school and I took physics in my junior year, and we needed to do an experiment, design something and take data. And I thought, I love rotating objects. I love looking at tops and what they do when you spin them, and they don't fall over, right? A top, when you spin it, due to gravity, it doesn't go boop and fall over. It actually goes like this, just like the Earth is doing, by the way. That's called precession. So I wanted to build something to look at those motions. And so I thought, okay, I need something, it's in an air bearing, so there's no friction, so when it rotates, and I need something heavy, so friction doesn't stop it right away. Turns out bowling balls, they're the most round things you can buy for a reasonable amount of money from a sporting goods store. So I took a bowling ball in high school and created a little air bearing, used an air compressor and floated it and looked at what it was doing. And I saw it do this precession. But I also saw it do what I call pole flipping, which is where the North and South Pole just on their own started flipping back and forth. And I was so confused. My high school physics teacher, I showed it to him. I said, what's it doing? And he just looked at me and said, you know what, Allison? I think you're gonna have to learn that in college because I don't know what it's doing. So in college, I designed yet another bowling ball to figure this out. And this morning I went out into my garage. This bowling ball is about 35 years old, and I hauled it out. So since I don't have a virtual background, I can hold it up and show all of you this. So this is a bowling ball. It's painted white because it made it easier to see these colors. So what did I do to this bowling ball? I actually drilled it out, balanced it, and put weights inside so that when you rotate around these different colors, it's either easy or hard. So it's hard if you rotate against this red. It's easy for green. And then I looked when rotating it with the drill what happened, and it was so cool. And there's still a video out there in YouTube if you want to see this. It's about 10 years ago. You just need to look under YouTube, Baski, B-A-S-K-I, rotation, and you'll see what happens. So that's how I launched on my path. I ended up getting a bachelor's in engineering physics at University of Colorado Boulder, and then went on to get my PhD in applied physics at Stanford. And I'll just tell you, there aren't many women in physics or some of the physical sciences, because I was in a group with about 12 guys, and I was the first woman to ever be in that group, and the first woman to ever graduate from my advisor's group. And guess what? He went on to get what's called a Kavli Prize. This is the Norwegian prize to compete with the Nobel Prize. And it's looking at atoms on a surface. So I've had just an amazing, exciting career in science and engineering because I built things, right? And I hope each of you can have such amazing experiences yourselves in Femineers and in other ways. Learn how things work and create your own experiments and inventions. Becoming an engineer or scientist can be a path for every single one of you and can lead to what I think is a very fulfilling career. And today you're going to hear from several women about their own careers, and I hope you will ask them lots of questions in that chat box, okay? So after telling you a little bit about my path, we're going to hear from some other women, and I want to hand back now the program to Dr. Rigdon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Baski. Now we're going to move on to Dr. Eugene Olvelsky, Dean of the College of Engineering at San Diego State University.
Good morning. I would like to welcome all participants, students, faculty, administrators, staff to Femineer Summit. And I would like to thank you all for your participation in this really wonderful program. It is a great time to be an engineer or scientist. As you know, many countries and the United States have a focus on producing more professionals in the STEM fields. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and I will be using this abbreviation quite frequently in this introduction. But at the same time, mathematicians and scientists are socially awkward men who wear glasses, at least according to children. So the Femineer program is intended to change this perception and to change the actual situation in STEM, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Recently, more is being done to encourage middle and high school students to enroll in STEM degrees at various universities. But the STEM professionals are important, and pretty much this workforce, those who work in STEM area, needs encouragement so that our country can compete globally. At the same time, participation of women in STEM degrees is still considerably lower than that of men, and especially in engineering. Women make up almost half of the total workforce of those who work, but only hold about a quarter of STEM jobs. So I believe that through the work of this Femineer program and with the participation of everyone in this summit, in this audience, we can ensure our students' success to provide more engineering-related activities and to encourage middle school students to participate in building their engineering education and career. So we're doing quite a bit in terms of activities of women in engineering at San Diego State University College of Engineering. We recently established the Women in Engineering, so-called WE program, and the Femineer program is an essential component of it. The major goal of all these activities is to encourage higher level of participation of female students as well as female faculty members in engineering. Just to provide you with some dry, so to speak, numbers, but we know that engineering requires some numbers to operate. Almost 20% of all undergraduate students in our college are female. This is just 1/5 of the total population of our students. But some disciplines, such as, for example, environmental engineering, already have equal number of female and male students. The number of female students in our master programs, this already we're talking about advanced degrees, master programs, is between 25 and 30%, depending on the major in our college. And the number of female students in doctoral programs in our college is about 40%. So we're pretty much approaching almost parity between women and men participation in doctoral programs. During the last 3 years, we have dramatically increased threefold the number of female faculty in our college, and now it is about 18%. It's a relatively low number still, so we need to work further to invite more women to become professors. Last year, we hired the first ever female professor in aerospace engineering. This is our first in the history of our college, a rocket scientist. And of course, we try to obtain any kind of support to support our female faculty and students. Since 2019, we were able to obtain the scholarship from Georgia Griffiths for students participating in SWE. SWE is the Society of Women Engineers. And we secured also 2 special funds, endowments, so-called, which support Femineer program. This is from Qualcomm. All of you know about this great company located in San Diego. And also from Ellen Ochoa. That's the female astronaut who graduated from the San Diego State University. And she established us a special scholarship for those students who participate in the Society for Women Engineers, and specifically for Femineer program. In closing, I would like to sincerely thank the Femineer staff for their dedicated and passionate work guiding students into science, technology, and engineering mathematics careers by providing transformative experiences and development of skills required in science, technology, engineering, and math education. Thank you all for your attention. I wish you have a great and enjoyable summit.
Thank you, Dean Olvetsky. Next, we're going to welcome Dr. Jawa, Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs and Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Sacramento State and co-founder of the Femineer program. Dr. Jawa.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you, the organizer, for inviting me to this summit. You know, this is one of my favorite events. It truly brings me great joy to be here, to see my colleagues, friends, teachers, and more importantly, the Femineers, mostly middle school and high school girls excited about engineering. I am also thrilled to be sharing this forum with two outstanding women, Dr. Baskey and Dr. Antiveros. As we heard Dr. Baskey, we heard her story. She has an engineering physics background. She is hands-on. She knows how to use tools. Now, think about it for a second. Now, she's a dean leading two colleges consisting of probably thousands of students and hundreds of faculty, and she's a success story. And when I think about her, I wonder what it would have been to be a woman engineer 100 years ago. Who would have been the first woman engineer? I thought about it and I got that answer 20, 30 years ago when I visited Romania. And I'm going to share a name with you. Her name is, of course, Romanian. It's Elisa Leonida Samfrescu. I heard about her and it inspired me a lot when I came to know her story. Elisa was the first women engineer of Europe and probably the second in the world. When she was a high school student, she wanted to be an engineer. Remember, this is over 100 years ago. And she wanted to be an engineer, so she applied as soon as she finished her high school for a school in Bucharest, in Romania. The school was called School of Bridges and Roads. And she was truly excited, and her father was an engineer too. But the school rejected her, saying that we do not take women. Women were not allowed to be engineers. Now, she was not disappointed. She said, okay, I'm not going to be stopped by this rejection. I'm going to apply everywhere. So she applied to other universities in Europe, and she was admitted to a university in Berlin, now known as Technical University of Berlin. And I've been to that university, and there is a portrait of her. This university, even though selected her, she was the first woman engineering student at this university. And when she went there, there was a dean. Now imagine, there was someone, a counterpart of Dr. Baskey at that university 100 years ago. And he told her, and this is on record, women should focus on church, children, and cooking, 3 C's. I believe it is 3 K's in German. I can't pronounce, but there are 3 K's for church, children, and cooking. And she was not even allowed to take part in the festivities meant for freshmen because she was the only woman. But you know what? None of these things deterred her. She went on to finish her degree, and then she went back to Bucharest and started as an assistant at a geological institute. She got a degree in engineering with focus on chemistry, chemical engineer, strictly speaking in today's terminology. And she started as an assistant working at an institute, and the war broke out, the First World War. So she starts her career war. What do you think she would do? Most engineers. If I can think of myself as an engineer, I would be thinking of somehow still sticking to my job as an engineer. I wouldn't be worried about war. But she left her job, started and managed a hospital, and helped 22,000 wounded soldiers. Then she went back to work after the war and started as an assistant. And here is an interesting thing. We all know if universities like San Diego State University, Cal Poly Pomona, we have many labs, engineering labs, mechanics lab, electronics lab, physics lab. All these labs are educational labs led usually by a faculty. But she was leading a research lab. That means the labs that were publishing a lot. And typically, I have led labs when I was at Cal Poly Pomona or other schools. Usually, as a faculty, you lead one lab. She started as an assistant, went on to lead 12 different labs. 12 labs, think about that. A woman leading 12 labs, a woman who was rejected from a university for admission was leading 12 labs, and each lab was publishing analysis reports. She was working on coal, natural gas, bauxite, you name any material of the time, she worked on it as a chemical engineer, and she assigned personally 85,000 analysis reports. Can you believe that? 85,000 analysis reports. That's like papers. If you publish for a PhD 3 papers, that's fantastic. And she signed off 85,000 findings. That was the level of maturity. That's the level of skills and knowledge Alyssa had. Anyhow, she retired, and you would think that she would keep quiet. No, it was in 60s. There was a severe Cold War between Soviet Union and America. There was Cuban Missile Crisis. There was a threat of a nuclear war. And what did she do? Even though she was in her 60s or 70s, she was an activist for peace. She took active part in disarmament activities. My point here is 100 years ago, here was a woman who was rejected, and then she had to go all the way to some other place to get a degree and come back, start a hospital, help the wounded, and then start as a technical assistant to move on to lead 12 labs. These are all trailblazers. These are all pioneers. These are all the kind of people that are now inspiring the new generation of people. So, Femineers, I don't want to take a lot of your time. When you think about a dean who said, engineering is not for you, women are meant for church and cooking and children, today we have 2 deans here, Dr. Baskey and Dr. Alevsky. These deans are opening their door, welcoming you to their engineering program. There is nothing that stops you from reaching your dreams. I am hoping 10 years from now, some of you are going to be leading some of the top laboratories in the US. Some of you are going to be leading big businesses. Some of you are going to be engineers. And I'm also hoping some of you are going to be professors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jala. That was so inspiring. Now we are going to move on to our keynote speakers. Just a reminder, if the audience has any questions, please type your questions into the chat box. So our first speaker is Ms. Esmeralda Moreno Thornton. She is a systems integration specialist at Motorola Solutions. Next, we have Ms. Brooke Neufeld Grossmacher, who works at Kratos Unmanned Systems Division. Our next speaker is Ms. Raina Roy, is a senior engineer capital projects at San Diego Gas and Electric. And our fourth speaker is Dr. Tara Wellborn, is a missions assurance program manager at Northrop Grumman. So please welcome Brooke, Esmeralda, Tara, and Raina. So our first question for our panelists, what does a typical day look like for you as an engineer?
I can go first. So a little bit of background before I answer this question. I am the lead electrical for an aircraft platform called Firejet. And so being the lead electrical engineer, I have many different roles. So I can be one day talking with customers and, interacting with them a lot. And then the next day I could be in the field working on the aircraft and assisting in flight operations and being in the ground control room, actually watching it fly and doing a lot of different stuff. So my day-to-day looks like so many different things, which is also cool because I can be out in the field, but then I also have a huge hand in the design and development effort of it. So I don't have one side or the other. Each day is something completely new, which I really like a lot.
Yeah, I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to talk with you all. So similar to Brooke, I don't have a typical day either. So I'm the Mission Assurance Program Manager for the Tactical Autonomous Systems with Northrop Grumman. So I have a few different aircraft under or within my portfolio. So I'll just give you a snippet of what I've been doing this past week. We have a couple of issues that we're trying to work through on some of our electrical components. And so right now I'm working in the lab, doing some investigation, opening up some of the boxes, some of the harnesses, and looking to see if we can trace down where those particular issues are. But I've also had days where, I interface a lot with different functions of engineering, different people within like our procuring agency where we're buying different products and trying to find out where certain material are located. But it's a lot of communicating, investigating, and also just trying to deliver the very best product. So we're always looking for the next best thing, and a typical day can vary just depending on what the objective is for that week or for that day.
Okay, this is Esmeralda. I can go next. I also graduated from Cal Poly Pomona. I got my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I've been working for Motorola Solutions now since I actually graduated. So I've had many roles throughout my career. So a typical day changes not just from day to day in one role, but as you may imagine, your career can have many different roles. So your typical day can vary a lot. So I'll go back, way back a few years when I first started. When I first started, I was a junior engineer, and as a junior engineer, I worked with senior engineers that would introduce me to our customers. And our customer base is public safety. So I got to meet early on a lot of the police and fire departments who rely on the Motorola products or the radio communication systems that they use day to day. So throughout the years, I learned to do different things. So I went from like one day visiting a site to look at a shelter to see if they had enough room to put equipment in, to look at the towers to see if they have enough space on the towers to put antennas on so that they could then communicate out to the users, to maybe developing a coverage analysis and using software to determine what kind of coverage the users can get. And then fast forward into time, and what I do today is I lead a group of engineers and a group of business managers, and we work in putting together solutions for our customers. So now I work more on what you would call the sales side of the house, where we introduce our customers and get to work with them and ask them, well, what do you want? What do you need? We put together a solution for them. So again, a day-to-day can change, not just in your current role, but throughout your entire career.
Hi, my name is Rena Roy. I am with San Diego Gas and Electric. A typical day for me also varies, just like the other ladies had mentioned. Primarily right now with working from home, there's a lot of emails and a lot of virtual meetings. I'm juggling a handful of projects right now. So these projects vary in phase from preliminary engineering to design to construction. So these meetings usually consist of a team of folks trying to help make some of the decisions that go into the design, and ensuring that what we are building can be built accordingly. As I mentioned, since I work for San Diego Gas and Electric, I am basically your local power provider. So the group that I work in is in electric substations. So anything inside a substation that's like a high voltage circuit breaker or transformer, my focus primarily is involved in that. These meetings that I'm involved in are in reviewing like electrical schematics to make sure the equipment can operate the way it should, including even reviewing structural drawings. Even though my background is in electrical engineering and I graduated from San Diego State University, I still work with subject matter experts in the structural team to help make sure that the equipment is sitting on, say, a concrete foundation that can meet seismic and electrical clearances. So a lot of the meetings that I involve with are usually like team-based in order to make decisions to help make sure that the equipment that need to provide electricity to the customer can work appropriately and can be maintained safely. So lots of emails, lots of meetings, but certainly a group environment. I'm not working alone, although when I do have downtime, I am reviewing calculations, studies, and helping ensure that, you know, every part of a project can be met. So I'm also reviewing budgets and schedules. So besides being an engineer, I'm also wearing the hat of a project manager by making sure a project can start and finish on time. And so that way I can move on to the next project.
Thank you. So we have a question from the chat from Oriano. What is the most interesting part of your job?
This is Esmeralda. What I would say my most interesting part of the job is actually getting to work with all kinds of people, both internally within the company. We get to work with account managers or salespeople, product developers, software developers, all kinds of people within the company. But then we also get to work with all kinds of customers. So you get to meet customers that are local here, like you know, the police department for the city of San Diego, all the way up to other states. Like I once had an opportunity to work in the state of Montana and traveled up to Montana. So I guess that's one of the great things, is that you get to meet a lot of people, and that's what I do enjoy.
For me, the most interesting and rewarding part of the job is getting to design something and see it get built and put into service. I think that is so rewarding because just like a project, I'm sure you've all been part of, you're putting a lot of effort into the planning and the execution, and then knowing what it's supposed to look like at the very end. Seeing that product at the very end is probably the most rewarding. Other benefits of what I've been able to do is a lot of the high voltage equipment isn't manufactured here in the United States, and they're built overseas, like in Europe and Asia. And so I've been able to go to Germany and Austria actually to see some of the equipment get built, and making sure that they perform the tests on site in their factories. And so I've been able to witness the testing to make sure that it meets our specifications before they actually ship it to us.
I agree. I think the going from concept to final delivery is always exciting. You know, like Rena was saying, there's a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of coordination involved. But when you actually get to see your product, and in my particular case, it's an airplane flying without people inside of it, you know, that is just mind blowing to me, no matter how many times I've seen it. But even when I was on a submarine, during my first job, being able to work on the submarine day in and day out, and get that and get the boat up and ready to go out to sea and go out for deployment. So really just kind of sitting back and relishing all of the hard work, you know, some of the long hours sometimes, and really just seeing it all come to fruition, and having that rewarding feeling come in so many times, you know, as you're preparing and just going through and executing and planning and just finally getting to the execution stage. That's such an rewarding feeling every single time.
Yeah, I think the answer for me too is pretty similar. So I worked on a lot of projects where we've worked on them for years, and then we finally get to go out and flight test them. Is so cool to actually see it be on the airplane that you worked on and go fly. And I think that is just such a rewarding feeling. Another really cool part of my job is that we work with a lot of international customers too. So I've gotten the opportunity to travel to Sweden and Australia and the UK and all these different kinds of countries to actually take our airplanes and go fly there. And even when I was in Australia, one of our aircraft, on purpose, it got shot down. That's kind of the purpose of what we use our aircraft for. And so I, in the outback of Australia, got to go on a helicopter recovery. So I had to go on the helicopter and go find our aircraft in the middle of the desert, which was so cool. So yeah, I think flight test is just such a cool part of my job that that wraps up the project that you've been working on for years.
Thank you. So we have a question from the chat from Emily. How did you figure out what field of engineering you wanted to work in?
I can go ahead and answer. Okay, go ahead.
So for me, I got my undergrad degree as a mechanical engineering, but I also have my master's and my PhD in engineering management and then systems engineering. But I don't necessarily work in that field. So, it was really just kind of venturing out and getting my first job, where I did more mechanical and more systems things, but really just getting in and talking to people and exploring. So even though my undergrad or my degrees rather had an entirely different concentration, what I'm working on today isn't necessarily that area. So so for me, it was just, putting a feeler out and just having an intuitive mind or inquisitive mind, I would say, and going out and talking to people to see what kind of jobs that they do and what kind of platforms they work on. And that's what led me to where I am now.
I'll add to what Tara said. You are absolutely right that sometimes when you start off, you think you're going to be doing that forever, but there are different things out there that you can try. No, going into college, I knew I wanted to be in electrical engineering, but I really didn't know what it would end up looking like. But when I got hired on with Motorola, I learned a lot of things hands-on. So I guess that's something that you need to keep in mind, that you're not going to learn everything you need to know in college. You're going to likely learn it on the job. And then, knowing things on the job, you then get exposed to other things that are out there. I also did get my engineering management degree while I was working, and that again opens up the doors to other things that you can do. So I guess always know that there's different things that you can do. As a young person, I thought, I'm going to be doing one thing all my life, but no, that's not the case. Know that there are so many things out there that you can do, and you could focus on doing something for a few years and then move on to doing the next thing that you want to do. But I would say getting into STEM and doing something in STEM will guarantee that you have a lot of opportunities in front of you that you could explore.
I know for me, high school was my first exposure to electronics. I actually there was a STEM program, it was a magnet program back then in my high school. They had like electronics, finance, teaching, can't remember what else, but I stumbled across electronics class. So it was that class that actually really got me into wanting to do engineering. And being that I'm from the Bay Area, there was all these companies. At that time, it wasn't what it is today, but I was able to get exposure to the industry and what engineers do. And it was there where I decided that that's what I wanted to go into. So when I actually went to San Diego State, I originally wanted to get into electronics, but as I got into more of the classes, I actually decided to move into power and power systems. So that's where I actually kind of shifted. Granted, it's all still engineering, but like everybody said, like your things are going to change, whether it's in school, you're going to be exposed to different opportunities, or even when you're working for your company within SDG&E, a lot of engineers actually shift. They don't necessarily stay in the substation or transmission or distribution. They can go and work in different groups within the company. So there's plenty of opportunities there. And and it's always okay to pivot. And STEM really helped me see all of the different opportunities that were available to me.
For me, I had the ability to take project lead the way classes when I was in high school. So I took introduction to engineering, and that really helped me because I knew I liked engineering. I loved problem solving, and I liked that type of thinking. You know, what kind of engineer just seemed such a big question. And so being able to take some of those classes just really helped because I could learn about the different kinds and not just learn about them, but actually get my hands on them and try different things out. And that really helped me figure out what I liked. And I was really back and forth between like even doing software versus electrical. And so, you know, just having experience in high school helped a lot, just kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And that's why I think, you know, being a part of the Femineers is great because you get to actually do projects. You're not just learning about the different kinds, you're actually getting to put your hands on them and see if you like the different kinds. So I think that really helped me going into college. And like everybody else is saying, there's a lot of different fields within each engineering discipline. And so you also taking a variety of classes in college and also getting your hands dirty and doing different projects in college is great. I also had the ability to be a part of a few different internships when I was in college, including like NASA, SpaceX, and a satellite company called Inmarsat. And so that also helped too before I actually graduated, knowing what part of the industry I wanted to be in.
Thank you. So our next question in the chat comes from Jolene. What is the toughest part of your job?
Okay, I'll be real. The toughest part of the job are deadlines. Sometimes when you have deadlines, it gets really stressful. So I guess you just have to get the job done, but that's the honest truth. Deadlines sometimes can be very stressful because you're on a timeline and you need to get things done.
Yeah, I think along that line is like sticking to a budget. A lot of the time they'll give you a certain amount of hours to finish something, and it's really hard to fit whatever you're doing within that period of time. And then also kind of along that thread too is, you know, working with customers, they have an expectation of what they want. And so developing a product and developing a solution that is within budget, is within the time frame, and is something that the customer is happy with is like really difficult to do because usually you're going to be outside of one of those 3 points. So that's definitely really hard to kind of you know, be within those.
Yeah, I would add that probably the toughest thing is just the competing priorities of different things that need to get done. Everyone thinks their request is the number one or should be your number one priority. But really just, you know, for me being reflective and seeing, you know, what the urgency is of the particular thing. So that plays into deadlines, that plays into just some of the customer requirements, that goes into everything, but really just trying to prioritize the day, the hours sometimes to get things done because everything's competing for your attention.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Christine in the chat. Have any of you felt any problems being a woman in the STEM field that a man may not encounter?
This is Esmeralda. I'm going to have to say that I have not. Fortunately, I think I've been in an environment and in a company where the opportunity offered to men have been the same as for women. So I think I've been blessed and fortunate to have had great experiences so far.
I'll say I have, you know, and it hasn't been anything as far as, you know, where there was an opportunity per se that went to a man that I felt that I deserved it more or anything like that. But there have been situations where, where I'm just showing up as who I am, big hair, bright colors, and, and kind of made to feel that it was almost inappropriate. As I stated earlier, I worked on a submarine when I first when I first graduated from college. And at that time, women weren't allowed to serve on submarines. So let alone, coming in as a contractor, working with the Navy on a submarine, there were a lot of, just glaring differences between myself and the people who served in the Navy at that time. But, just just showing up, just being who I am. So I don't feel like, that a man's necessary grooming or the colors that he would wear would be something that would be called out or become an issue. But for me, I've definitely had experiences where people have made comments about them.
I think some of the challenges I face, it wasn't having to do with being a woman. It's more of the fact of being an engineer versus the construction side. So the field personnel that I deal with that build what I'm doing might think, oh, you engineer, you don't know what you're talking about. We build these things. And so it's through communication and understanding, what challenges are you seeing, to build this. And I take that in and I use that as a lesson learned to help me improve my designs. And even during the middle designs, now I go to the crew and I ask them like, hey, do you think this would work if we place it here or install it this way or whatnot? And so really that challenge was a learning opportunity to do a better job communicating up front. So I think that was probably the only real challenges I've ever had is just as an engineer, do I know what I'm talking about? Am I just textbook like smart, or am I practical smart as well, right? So, and I think that was the difference from, where I was 12 years ago when I started with the company to where I'm at now. I've definitely learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I can communicate better. I've also established really good networks with a lot of people I work with. So that way I can easily go to them and ask them for their input before I go ahead and apply it to the design and issue it for them to go ahead and build. But other than that, I don't think I've had any other major challenges. I think that actually a lot of the guys in the field respect me and value my opinion, which really means a lot to me, especially, not only am I a woman, but being that we're virtual, you can't see me, but I'm barely 5 feet tall. I'm a very tiny person. So people might look over me and not even notice I'm there, but to be able to create a presence where people see you and value your input, I think that was a challenge that was overcome, and I found it to be very rewarding.
Yeah, I think it's similar for me as well. I don't know if it was necessarily because I was a female or if it was because I'm just graduated college and, I didn't have industry experience at that point. But I think just being confident in myself and just, doing the background work to understand what I was working on helped me be confident. And I think that's what earned the respect of my colleagues. And so I would never say that there was a big challenge there. I just think, me being confident really helped that side of it. It is somewhat challenging when I would go on work travel because a lot of my colleagues are male. And so when I went to Australia, it was me and then 20 other guys. And so that was kind of a funny balance, but they all respected me and everything worked out great. It is sometimes tough being in a male dominated field. I'll say it because a lot of my colleagues are male. But I don't let it affect my work, and I look forward to having more females work with me.
Thank you. So our next question in the chat is from Mariah. What is your best advice to young girls who are interested in becoming engineers?
I would say my best advice is to stick to it. Don't be afraid. Don't think that you're not good enough or that you're not smart enough or whatever enough. You are. Just know that you are. We all go through that. I went through that as a young student, and I still go through that today. So it's something that you're always gonna feel, but feel confident in yourself and your abilities. And I did see a little message somewhere saying that, you know, what happens if you're not good enough or a good student enough or whatever. You are, you might not think you are, but you are. And if you think you need to improve in some areas, improve in those areas. So just know that you could actually do it. Set your mind and focus on what you want to achieve.
Yeah, thank you, Esmeralda, for saying that. She's absolutely right. Do not give up. Truth, I had to retake calculus and physics. I had an engineer friend who I had met through networking that said, do not give up. Those are the weed out classes. Just keep going. And so I utilized the MESA program at SDSU to get tutoring. I spent so many hours in the tutoring center to get as much help as I could in classes I struggled with. And by the time I got to like calculus 3 and differential equations, I aced those classes. And they actually seemed easier than the earlier calculus and physics class. So really just don't give up. You're going to build your confidence. There are going to be times where you're going to be maybe wondering, like, is this really where I want to go? I'm struggling here. You're not alone. There are people feeling the same thing that you're feeling, and it's okay. And I would just say, like, continue to keep working towards your goals. If you see yourself being an engineer or in any of the STEM fields, continue to do it. I would say continue to be a part of the STEM program, network as much as possible. It's that support system that's going to help you. So whenever you're feeling down or questioning something, go to those people, seek advice, ask for their help, and I guarantee you they'll help see that you succeed in the field that you want to be in.
Yeah, I think,
Go ahead, Brooke.
I think also having your eye on the end goal, I think is so important too. Like if you are working on projects and you know you love a certain part of it, then like they're saying, you know, just push through those tough classes, because in the end, you won't have to take those classes forever. You're going to get through them. You're going to be able to graduate, and then you can, you know, do the things that you love. And I think that's so important. And, you know, I'll be honest, I've definitely like cried after taking tests before when I was in college, because it's tough. It's really hard. And so again, just like pushing through it and just having a support system is so important, and just looking towards that end goal.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say, you know, finding that network and your support system. But I will also say, give yourself some grace, you know, and just give yourself the room to grow into engineering. You know, you're not going to be, the expectation doesn't have to be perfection for every single thing that you do. Just do what you're capable of doing and continue to keep that end item, or, and, you know, and that end, the end in sight, you know, or end in mind rather. And just continue to strive against your own self rather than looking at the other people around you and the grades that they're making, or even just your own internal expectations that you place on yourself. Just do what you can just to get through. You first have to just start it, and then you continue to finish it, or you finish it by giving yourself that grace and working and doing one assignment at a time and one exam at a time, and just taking it day by day.
Thank you. So we have a question from Victoria in the chat. Who has been your biggest role models that have inspired you through your career?
So this is Esmeralda. So I guess throughout my career, I've had different role models. One of my really good friends has always been very, very business savvy, if you will. So she's moved up the ladder, if you will, very quickly. And so she's a role model for me. And then, you know, in general, I think my mother was a really good role model for me, because no matter what, she was always working very hard and doing the best that she could with her abilities. And so I think for me, that has been a positive influence in terms of being a female in a male-dominated world.
Similar to me, I just seeing other strong women have been very motivating to me, as certainly as a role model within SDG&E. people that have come up with the company that have decided to go, say, the management route, become a director, and keep moving up the ladder. Like, some of those people are role models to me, and they're role models to me because of, not just because they're a woman engineer and they're dabbling all these other areas, but like their execution style, their grace. They seem to handle things very well. Like, all of those things that I would like to emulate. And that's why I look at them as a role model. But also, even I have male peers that I look at as role models too, that have also worked up, and just seeing the way they handle things, how they, run a meeting, or I don't know, just examples of seeing how they present themselves and how they execute. I found those to always be role model like qualities that I would like to one day emulate.
Yeah, I loved growing up in like learning about like Amelia Earhart and other females, and maybe they weren't like my direct role models, but I loved learning about them and being inspired from people like that. And I also had a great teacher when I was in high school who I really looked up to, who actually was an engineer, and then went into teaching when she had kids. And so I always looked up to her. I even still stay in contact with her, even though I've graduated 8 years ago. And so I think it's really important to like have role models like that in your life that you can get advice from and look up towards.
Yeah, my role models are some of my mentors, actually. The people that I can go to and ask questions. In particular, I'm thinking of one of our vice presidents in the company. She is so authentically herself, and I love the way that she just shows up in every single room that she's in. And I just love that about her, and when I'm thinking about uh, things that I need to make a decision on, I will always think in the back of my head, how would Gina address this particular situation, remaining professional for sure, but also just the strategy that she would apply to decision making. She's just one of those people that she just has this incredible energy about her, but she's well respected because of the technical acumen that she has, and so I love everything about her and her career and the things that she's overcome. So I always refer to her in many situations, and she's an incredible mentor to me.
Thank you. And this is going to be our last question from one of our Femineer teachers. Can you talk about how you learned to fail forward and not give up when challenges were hard?
Yeah, I think failing forward is all about, learning the lessons. You take these lessons learned away. Like, why do you consider it a failure to begin with? But also, or what the expectation was and why you didn't meet that. So once you learn that particular lesson, you go forward and you correct those particular issues. But it's always good to have that sense of failure so that you can, kind of just level set yourself. And again, it's not setting your goal for perfection, but it's setting your goal for continuous growth. And failing forward is all about learning those lessons through those experiences.
I agree with Tara. Sometimes you need to fail to learn something, and we're always learning. So take it as a lesson learned. Sometimes it hurts a little bit to fail. I'm not gonna lie, but it's a matter of time to I think get over it and really focus and reflect on what went wrong and how you could grow and as a result be stronger. So I think look at failure as a way to get stronger, not necessarily as a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree. I like the term failing forward because you're moving forward, you're growing, you're learning. And when we fail, we sometimes worry that, oh gosh, like, is anybody going to discredit me now from failing? Really, the only person that remembers those failures is you. We're always really hard on ourselves, but really it's a way to like dust off your shoulder, get right back up and keep moving forward. Use that failure as a learning opportunity to grow and hone in on some skills that are a little, not as sharp, if you will. Kind of like when studying for my professional engineering exam, I had to take it more than once. I had struggled with that test as well. And really, there were areas that I was really good in, and there's areas that I wasn't good in. And I just basically had to focus on those areas I wasn't so good in to become better at it. And eventually I passed the exam. Similar to work, whether it's on a project or anything in life, use that failure, if you will, as a learning opportunity to grow and develop and sharpen your skills. And really, those are the ones that you're going to learn and grow from the most. And you're going to be able to show that to other people. Because if anybody is paying attention, they'll say, wow, like, look at her, like she's overcome so much. And so failures are actually a good thing. And I actually tell the young engineers when they come to our group and I'm training them up, like, don't worry about making mistakes or making a wrong decision. There's always going to be a solution around that error. So don't worry about it. Use that as a learning opportunity to help you on the next project. So failures are actually a good thing.
Yeah, and I think too, when we say failure, we think of something bad, but we also have to remember that if we're failing at something, it means it's challenging, that we are working towards something bigger that's going to be tough to get through. And so I think realizing that you're working on something that's difficult is also going to be rewarding in the end as well once you climb over that. And so I think like looking towards like the big inventions of, Thomas Edison and things like that, they didn't figure it out on their first try. They didn't accomplish it on the very first time. They had to fail over and over again to get to something that, led to something that was life-changing. And so I think realizing that whatever you're failing at, it just means it's difficult and you can get through it. And I said this earlier, but like taking a step back and looking at the bigger goal, I think helps a lot too.
So I want to say thank you to all of our guest speakers, round of applause. And now we are going to transition to our student showcase. So Bianca, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. This is probably one of my favorite days of the year is Summit. Even though we are virtual, it's exciting to have you all. But we're excited to show you what some of our Femineer schools have been up to this year. We know that this year has brought on many challenges, but we are so very thankful that we have such a resilient Femineer community. So without further ado, let's see what some of our Femineer students have been up to. This little bar is gonna go. Sorry, I see it's not super loud. Matt, can you remind me again?
Not a problem. So on the share screen at the bottom, there should be a enable the sound. Make sure you click that before you share the video. So
I found it. Thank you.
I probably enjoyed being able to do hands-on projects and just creating it yourself and being able to just have a lot of fun with your friends.
The most difficult project I have worked on this past year was the Halloween project. I made a Pennywise doll, and it took a lot of work. It took a lot of changing.
One of the challenges I've had is probably coding, but it is getting easier.
Do it all already? Or do we have one more spot?
A demonstration of the picky hyena.
It's just a rough model.
Turns green, which means he's happy. And the reason why he's turning his head, because he's celebrating.
To me, a Femineer means to still be a kid, but like you're learning about what your future job might be. You might want to be an engineer, and then it's just cool because you learn how to do this, and so it's a lot of fun. I can show other girls that even if someone says like it's not for girls, it is. This is basically girls engineering, and it is very fun.
This is Mr. Picky. If you don't give him what he wants, he'll go, ah. But if you give him food, he'll go, ah.
I've been working on this project in Femineer that's light up headband. The horns light up, they have hex or LED lights in them.
This is my project. It's a flower spinning. This hummingbird right here controls the LEDs down here. And here's my wiring and stuff on the back. And let me turn it out and it's called The Garden.
Thank you to all of those who submitted. We tried very, very hard to get everybody into those really short 10 minutes, but not to worry if you didn't get it in this year. Hopefully next year we have an in-person summit where we can see your super duper extra special projects, because it's probably the best showcase there is. Thanks.
This past year provided us with multiple challenges and changed how we experience our daily lives. One of the many things that remained the same was the dedication of our teachers to educating, inspiring, and supporting our students through these unprecedented times. When reviewing the nominations we received, the words passionate, dedicated, advocate, inspirational, leader, mentor, committed, for example, were frequently used to describe our Femineer teachers. Through the generous donation of Dr. Ellen Ochoa to support our Femineer program, we've established a Femineer Teacher of the Year award to honor one middle school teacher and one high school teacher. I want to first start off by announcing the Femineer middle school teacher. This amazing teacher was described as not only as an amazing teacher for all of the 3 Femineer courses, but also an amazing advocate for all Femineer girls, as well as children who are interested in all things robotics and engineering. This teacher has been busy fulfilling their dream of making the Femineer program known in all of East County through hosting girl-powered workshops, encouraging his students to host their own Femineer-led breakout session workshops, as well as host their own Femineer booth at the San Diego STEAM Maker Festival. In addition to making an initiative in recruiting future Femineer students, regardless if they were learning in person, hybrid, or virtually, he has had enough supplies. He made sure that there was enough supplies for training to build and create with for his students. This teacher's dedication, passion, and energy has only increased the confidence, awareness, and leadership skills of his students. We would like to congratulate Mr. Johnny Nguyen from Tierra del Sol Middle School in Lakeside, California, as our 2021 Ellen Ochoa Femineer Middle School Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, Johnny. Our next teacher was described as a wonderful teacher who's a dedicated educator with a passion for giving students a platform to maximize their creativity and an intellectual potential. This teacher enjoys sharing their love of engineering, and this time of distant learning has not put the Femineer program on hold, but rather has developed creative and innovative ways to connect with her students via weekly Zoom club meetings, occasionally socially distant Saturday meetings at their school site, for example. This teacher has built a strong partnership with local feeder middle schools, school advisors, to make sure that those students who participate in the Femineer program in the middle school will continue and flourish at the high school's Femineer program. This teacher provides students with a supportive and collaborative environment that promotes the development of academic skills while also fostering character, integrity, and grit in all of her students. This teacher establishes a strong presence in the classroom that allows her students to form positive, productive relationships that lead to success. This teacher is always willing to go the extra mile to all the students and is an inspiration to everyone both in and outside of the classroom. We would like to congratulate Jennifer Lara from Downey High School. Thank you for all your hard work to all of our teachers during this academic year, but also to our students who have worked very hard and has really, I don't know, I'm almost teary-eyed watching the video, but just how hard you've all worked and pushed forward and built that community and kept it going during the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you for attending our first virtual Femineer Summit. All of the teachers, all of the students, all of our panelists, and all of the staff who helped put this together. We'd also like to thank all of our sponsors who have helped us to provide door prizes. So now we're going to read through the list of those of you who have been selected for the door prizes. And anybody who receives a door prize, we would like you to send your preferred mailing address to us Somebody will place the address in the chat, and someone will write to all of the teachers with the address to send us your mailing address. You can send us an email to wise@cpp.edu. That's WISE@cpp.edu. So now let's go on to see who has been selected for the door prizes. We'd like to thank Barnes & Noble for sponsoring some of these giveaways. Emily Vandal at middle school, a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag, and Barnes & Noble Women in Science Space Book set. Congratulations to Riley Alexander. Tierra del Sol Middle School, also receiving a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag and Barnes & Noble Ellie Engineer book set. Congratulations to Avalon Shelton, Ramona High School, receiving a high school SDSU Femineer swag bag and Barnes & Noble Women Inventors book set. And congratulations to Norma Mendoza of Segerstrom High School, receiving a high school SDSU Femineer swag bag. Thank you still to Barnes & Noble for sponsoring this giveaway. And congratulations to Jennifer Garcia from Synergy Kinetic Academy, a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag and Barnes & Noble novel book set. And congratulations to Stephanie Aguirre Lara of Sussman Middle School, a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag and Girls Who Code Barnes & Noble book set. We'd like to thank BirdBrain for sponsoring this giveaway. For Juliana Guadarrama Bravo, Advanced Learning Academy, receiving a BirdBrain hummingbird kit. And congratulations to these student winners. Juanita Concepcion Huizar, Beatty Middle School. Morael Mata, San Dimas High School, receiving a Femineer blanket and tote bag. Congratulations to these student winners. Valerie Palacios, Slauson Middle School, a Femineer blanket, water bottle, and socks. Allison Ledesma, Leona Jackson Middle School, Femineer backpack, water bottle, and socks. Leslie Nava, Ralston Intermediate School, Femineer tote, water bottle, and socks. Miriam Torres, Lathrop Middle School, Femineer water bottle and socks. Jasmine Sandu, Sanger High School, Femineer backpack and socks. Jacob Schneider, Highland Community School, a Femineer blanket and socks. Femineer Challenge Family Kit, wood burning ornaments. Thank you to Remake Learning Day San Diego for sponsoring these kits. Congratulations to Mia Poveda, Downey High School, Bella Ton, McGarvin Intermediate School, Emma Cole, Highland Community School, Alma Puebla, Synergy Kinetic Academy. Femineer Challenge Family Kit DIY No-Sew STEM Scrunchies. Thank you to Remake Learning Day San Diego for sponsoring these kits. And congratulations to Jasmine Smith, Doty Middle School, Zaidi Zepeda, Los Alisos Middle School, Alexa Ortiz, Sanger High School, Andrea Palacido, Lathrop Middle School. Femineer Challenge Family Kit, plastic shrink jewelry. Thank you again to Remake Learning Day San Diego for sponsoring these kits. And congratulations to Kira Garrett, Great Oaks High School, Christina Arnaud, Paramount Park Middle School, Maddie Stillwell, St. Agnes Catholic School, Mia Gonzalez, Tierra del Sol Middle School, Isabella Fuentes, Stauffer Middle School, and Elizabeth Casillas, Slauson Middle School. Thank you to Katie Howes for sponsoring this giveaway. And congratulations to Anita Venter, Ralston Intermediate School, receiving a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag and 2 books signed by author Katie Howes. Thank you to Barnes & Noble for sponsoring this giveaway. Grace Yu, Paramount Park Middle School, a middle school SDSU Femineer swag bag, and Barnes & Noble Code Like a Girl book set. And Ms. Geraldine Proust, San Dimas High School SDSU Femineer swag bag and Barnes & Noble Women Inventors book set. Congratulations to Janica Gonzalez, Lathrop Intermediate School, for a class set of 24 Women in Engineering STEM role model coloring books and colored pencils. And to Jennifer Lara, Downey High School, a class set of 24 Women in Engineering STEM role model coloring books and colored pencils. Congratulations to these teacher winners. Theodore Vo, McGarvin Intermediate School, a bird brain hummingbird kit. Shelley Andros, Beatty Middle School, Femineer water bottle and socks. Adam Woods, Segerstrom High School, a Femineer backpack, water bottle, and socks. Stacy Klein, Advanced Learning Academy, Femineer tote, blanket, and socks. Christine Pinnell, Leona Jackson School, a Femineer backpack and socks. Thank you all so much for attending today. I'm going to hand it over to one of our presenters to give a closing. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our attendees, participants, industry guest speakers. This concludes the virtual Femineer Summit. Thank you for attending. We look forward to the day that we will be back on campus for the Femineer Summit. We hope to see some of you at CPP or SDSU in the fall, and congratulations to our graduating seniors. Have a wonderful day, and thank you.